Good morning and welcome to Earth Echoes with Amber Fields. I am just enjoying this beautiful morning because we got an amazing rainstorm last night, and we're in a big drought in Arizona, and monsoons haven't really panned out. They started early and then just stopped, and so there's a lot of trees dying around here. Even the brush is dying, which that is uncommon for it to be this dry. It hasn't been this dry since like the late 90s, early 2000s. And so I'm feeling super blessed today that we got rain last night and it smells beautiful. And I'm here this morning to read a piece titled The Axe, the PAIL, and the Empty Sky by Jason Gray. The shape of a forgotten truth. Before there were gurus, scriptures, retreats, or downloads. Before there were chakras, codes, and karmic charts. Before the mystics penned their ecstasies and the monks wrapped silence in ritual. There was this: a cold morning, a pile of wood, a heavy bucket, a fire waiting to be born. In that moment, before theory, before metaphor, before transcendence, there was God. Not in thunder, not in vision, in motion. Hands splitting bark, muscle answering need, water quenching thirst, fire warming flesh. No doctrine, no illusion, just the sacredness of being what is needed. The seduction of the sky. You were taught to reach up, to climb the mountain, to pierce the veil, to seek the beyond. So you did. You meditated until your bones ached. You read until your mind drowned. You purified, fasted, surrendered, invoked, cleared. You sought transmission. You begged for a glimpse. When you finally caught a flash, a crack in the sky, a taste of the infinite, you believed. This is it. I have touched something eternal. Maybe you had. What happened next? The return, the fall, the loss, the after no one prepared you for. No one tells you that enlightenment is not the crown of the soul, but the death of its illusions, and what comes next looks exactly like what came before. The fire that doesn't need to speak. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. It is not just a riddle. It is a secret coded in plainness. The truly awakened do not become more. They become less. Less noise, less identity, less need to shine. They become emptier, not louder. They radiate silence, not through effort, but because nothing is left to prove. You sit with them, and your pain softens, not because they healed you, but because they did not need to fix you. They chop wood, they carry water. Somehow, in their presence, so do you. The loop of the next thing. The loop does not end with awakening. It just wears new robes. After the first taste of transcendence, the seeker becomes more subtle in their hunger. I need to stabilize my light. I must integrate more codes. I need another download. I'm close to my soul mission. Just like that, the wood remains unchopped. The bucket sits dry. The world waits for you to return to what actually matters. Enlightenment does not give you wings. It gives you clarity. Not to escape your humanity, but to inhabit it completely. Chopping wood as prayer. What if prayer was splitting logs with full presence? What if holiness was hauling water not to purify the spirit, but because the body is thirsty and this world matters? The mystics got it wrong when they tried to flee the earth. The real sages stayed. They built shelters. They cooked meals. They walked behind oxen. They nursed the sick. They did not become immortal. They became useful. In that, they found the presence that every seeker is searching for. The rebirth of simplicity. After the glow fades, after the visions stop, after the cosmic downloads dissolve into quiet, you are left with a stove to light, a floor to sweep, a letter to write, a meal to cook, a moment to choose love again. This is the altar. This is the place where God lives, not above, not beyond, but in the hand that lifts the axe, in the feet that tread to the well, in the lungs that exhale into the cold morning. The divine does not demand your devotion. It just wants you here, fully. What no one ever says about freedom. Real awakening does not feel like a victory. It feels like a loss. Loss of striving, loss of significance, loss of being special, loss of needing to be seen. In that loss, you gain everything. You gain the wind again. You gain the silence. You gain the ability to laugh deeply, to weep honestly, to walk without needing to arrive. You gain the understanding that nothing more needs to happen for this moment to be holy. Not because of what it is, but because you are no longer resisting it. The enlightened one disappears. They stop posting. They stop preaching. They stop performing. Not because they have quit the path, but because they have become it. They show up in the garden, at the bedside, with an open hand, with quiet eyes. You feel them before they speak. They have stopped trying to be the light. They just let the wood burn. In that warmth, you remember something deeper than words. You remember yourself. The fire is lit. Now you return to your own woodpile, to your own path beneath your feet, to your own breath as sacred incense. The next time you chop wood, feel it. The bark, the weight, the sound of a clean break. The next time you carry water, let it teach you what grace is. Not floating, not glowing, carrying, giving, being. In that you will know. You never left the truth. You just wandered through the illusion of something better. Jason Gray. I really like that piece and can definitely relate to it. I've spent over 30 years of my life living off grid, and about 35 of my years of my life living in different places with just a wood stove for heat. And it's taught me a lot about what's important in life, and it's definitely helped me to be close to the earth in a lot of ways just by doing those things and executing the processes that it takes to heat your home solely with wood. You learn a lot about nature and just being in this world and being human. And I lived about 5 years of my life, actually 6 years, without running water or much electricity, just electricity to really run a radio and a light, a solar panel. And it's a very humbling experience, and it teaches you what's really important in life. And I recommend doing things like that to everyone at some point in your life if you can. And now I've lived about 15 years of my life with either an outhouse or a composting toilet, and that's also something that is great for teaching you humility. I loved having an outhouse. That was just great to be out in nature, and you could leave the door open and look at the mountain. And now I've lived about 8 years or so with a composting toilet. And yeah, it's great for teaching you how to be humble and resilient and what really matters in life. It's really nice in Arizona to be able to do that so that I'm not using drinking water to flush waste down the toilet, and instead I'm using a composting toilet to create fertility. Whenever we harvest the human manure, I put it, when we plant trees, I put it in the hole where we plant trees, and our trees are definitely doing a lot better in our yard and growing faster because of that. So yeah, I guess what I really want to say is that I'm just grateful for these opportunities, because I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't experienced these things. And more and more in our world, I do think it's very important to return to these simple ways of being and simple ways of living and being human. I hope you have a beautiful day.